Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages, it's me again. Now, I'm not recording these to become any kind of influencer or anybody important. I'm really recording them to where my kids and grandkids one day can go back and still hear the funny stories I have to tell. And if somebody else enjoys them, well, more power to them. And I hope somebody does. I don't edit this stuff. I don't use anything but what God gave me up here and a sense of humor. Today's story is pepper spray. JPX, which is a pepper spray gun. And if you've ever had to use it, the devil's piss. Now, I've always had a bad allergy to various forms of chemicals, one thing or another. So when I got told I had to be pepper spray trained in law enforcement, well, we can just say my backside puckered up a little bit and I got a little paranoid and scared. One of the things they asked is, do y'all want an ambulance standing by? And I absolutely did. What we had to do is I was going to give my name, department, rank, and we had to get sprayed, run about 20 feet to one side, grab a gun, come back to our starting point, face a paper target, use a sim gun. Sim gun, it looks and acts just like a Glock, but it shoots a paint pellet. We had to shoot a target center mass, walk over, put the gun down, grab a radio, and like for me, it'd be 434 to sheriff's office, 434 to sheriff's office. Shots fired, I've been OC'd. Then I would be taken over to a decontamination booth. Well, me and my genius, I figured if I don't breathe, it won't affect me. I forgot that shit was dripping off my eyebrows and my eyelashes. And when I first took a breath, it felt like I was swallowing liquid fire. Like I'd gone to a volcano, picked up some of the magma, and just swallowed it. My throat shut up. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't see. I couldn't do shit. Now, right before this happened, I was working with a fellow who used to be a Navy SEAL, and he said, remember, fella, as long as you speak, you can breathe. Well, that's the problem. I really couldn't breathe, and they walked me over to a dunk tank, and it was cold out. It was about January, February, and I dipped my face in that thing a couple of times and realized how good it felt. And then I realized that water was running down my chest. It was running down everything, and it was just further spreading this liquid fire. And for a brief second, I realized I couldn't breathe. I couldn't see. And this stuff was headed down to certain body parts of mine that I'm very much picky about and really didn't want to feel the devil's piss on. Now, this was a horse water trough, and I just went end over end and submerged my entire self and stayed under for about 10 seconds. That's about as long as I could hold my breath. When I come back up, it started again, so I went back under, and I did this several times until they finally grabbed me one time when I came up, said somebody else has got to get in here, and walked me over to a big fan for me to blow onto my face. It helps, but all it really did was dry this crap right on my face. Now, Johnson & Johnson's baby shampoo helps get rid of it, but to a certain extent. Now, how the hell, after all this exposure and everything, I made it through, I have no idea, because I really couldn't breathe. And I had the pepper spray instructor a fella I very much respected, and two ambulance people say, "You're turning colors. You need to go to the hospital. You're turning colors. You need to go to the hospital." And I refused. Even my captain came over and says, "Look, guys, there's enough of us here. When his fat ass passes out, we'll throw him in the ambulance." Probably the only time I ever got to flip that man off and got away with it. And I gave him double birds. I was bound and determined not to go for the sole reason that was a man card punch, and I figured if I went to the hospital, I was going to lose them man card points, because I was watching other people just freak out. They were losing their mind. In fact, the Navy SEAL was huffing and puffing and saying he couldn't breathe, and I wanted to remind him, but I couldn't get the words out because my throat had closed up. If you can talk, you can breathe. I got my man card punch, and being that I worked in a jail and law enforcement, there was a real good chance I was going to use this stuff on a regular basis. And my mentor, Lieutenant Faulkner, used pepper spray like most people use salt on their food. He pepper sprayed 2 or 3 people a day. That's what he had to do to keep control of the jail. Because there was always somebody that thought they were bigger and badder than you, and you needed a little equalizer. Well, after a while, I eventually got to the point, I guess exposure got me to where I was used to it. And I started popping that stuff off. There was one time we used some riot spray in a pod. Nobody seemed to be able to go in there. I got real pissed off. And I walked off in there, and what threw everybody off is it wasn't phasing me, but everybody else couldn't step 2 feet inside the door, and I spent the next 10, 20 minutes in there helping clean this place up. Then it got to where I was using pepper spray a lot through the course of my job to maintain control of the facility. It got to the point I was carrying 1 full can or partial can for use, and a couple of other cans for backup. Hell, it got to the point my captain was just issuing me 3-4 cans of pepper spray a month. I was going through it, but I was doing what he wanted. I was keeping control of the facility. It even got to the point I got a nickname from the inmates, Lieutenant OC. If he said he's going to spray you, he's going to spray you. Just do what he says. But I've seen a few people that when they got sprayed, they did the typical thing and freak out. And then when we took them in for decontamination, we would try to lean them over, bend them over, from the waist down, to where it just ran off their face when the water hit them when we got them in the shower. There were a few that chose to stand upright. And you can already guess it ran down the back, right down the crack, and it ran down the front to the family jewels. Well, that's about the time we got the real good freak out. And they proceeded to bounce off all 4 walls, and it was all we could do to hold them down. I can't tell you how many times I took a shower with somebody not wanting to, fully clothed, fully dressed, all my gear on me, while these fools bounced around like a pinball in a pinball machine. But pepper spray basically feels like somebody poured kerosene all over you and flicked your beck and lit your ass on fire. It ain't fun. It ain't good. But it is a good attitude adjustment. Because after you experience one good time, whether you're sober, straight, or drunker and Cooter Brown, you will always remember those experiences. And yeah, there is a video on my Facebook page of me getting pepper sprayed. And yes, oh dear God, yes, does it hurt. Not something I wish on my work. Well, I got a few people I wouldn't mind pepper spraying a time or two with pepper spray. But if I just kind of dislike you, I probably wouldn't want to do it. Well, maybe. Possibly. Peace, love, and nacho grease. Catch you on the flip side, and always remember, keep the shiny side up and the rubber side down.